Call to order the City Council meeting for the City of East Grand Forks Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021 is now 5 o'clock. Would the City Clerk please call roll?
Mayor Steve Gander.
Here.
Council President Mark Olsted.
Here.
Council Vice President Tim Riopel.
Here.
Council Members Clarence Vetter.
Here.
Dale Helms.
Here.
Tim Johnson.
Here.
Mark Demers.
Present.
Brian Larson.
Here.
Let's determine a quorum. Please stand for Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
An open forum and opportunity to members of the public to address the City Council on items not on the current agenda. Items requiring council action may be deferred to staff, boards, and commissions for research and future council agendas if appropriate. Does anybody in the audience want to address the council at this time? I see none. Approval of minutes for the July 20th regular meeting and July 27th work session.
Move.
Moved by Helms.
Second.
Second by Riopel. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Demers.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Vetter.
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Riopel.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Olsted.
Yes. Motion is carried. Scheduled bid letting is none. Scheduled public hearing, there is none. Consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda will be adopted with one motion. However, council members may request individual items to be pulled from the consent agenda or for discussion and action if they choose. Anyone like 3 through 7 pulled? If not, entertain a motion of 3 through 7, please.
Move 3 through 7.
Moved by Riopel.
Second.
Second by Helms. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Demers.
Yes.
Larson.
Yes.
Vetter.
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Riopel.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Olsted.
Yes. Motion is carried. Acknowledge our receipt of reports and officers, boards, and commissions. Regular meeting minutes of Water, Light, Power, and Building Commission for July 7th, 2021. Regular meeting minutes of Park and Recreation Commission for May 19th, 2021. Communication, there is none. Old business, there is none. We'll move on to new business. Number 10, consider adopting Resolution 21-08-61, accepting the quote and awarding the Highway 220 North Frontage Road Repair Project to R.J. Zavril and Sons for a total of $34,739.50.
Move.
Moved by Johnson, second by Riopel. Questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Demers. Larson.
Yes.
Vetter.
Yes.
Helms.
Yes.
Riopel.
Yes.
Johnson.
Yes.
Olsted.
Yes. Motion is carried. Consider approving the easement for access agreement between the City of East Grand Forks and Jason Home. Motion. Moved by Vetter.
I'll
Second by Riopel. Questions or discussion? Mr. Helms.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to see this particular item put on hold and brought to a work session, just because of the fact that I'm concerned about what other kind of problems we're going to get into with the other residents of the city and everything on this. It seems like every time that one of these little things happen, you know, it's pretty easy to blame the city, but they should have known where their lot line was at to start with. So I'd like to see it pulled so we can discuss it a little bit at a work session.
If I may.
Mr. Galston.
Right now, the closing was already continued. It's supposed to be today. It was continued till tomorrow. We have investigated this, Mr. Helms. Essentially what ended up happening is that the city legitimately sold that lot to Mr. Holm. I was not involved in the transaction. It came through the EDA. It was one of those deeds where Mr. Richter drafted it and used the legal description. It's easy when I look back to see where the lot line would be assumed to go all the way out to the roadway. That is 190th there. However, there was an up and over that went parallel to the 190th, so there's so the access to his lot actually goes across the up and over. Since it's still owned by the city, it realistically has gone unnoticed since he built it. It would be a hardship on him as well as the individuals that are buying that house. Mr. Holmes has agreed to pay any expenses that have incurred from my review of this. I provided a bill to the Neal Law Firm for my time. It's being put on the settlement statement and being paid for out of the proceeds so that the transaction can go forward. We also contacted the Corps of Engineers. The Corps of Engineers reviewed it and indicated that they didn't have an objection to leaving the access as it is and provided clearance for us to go ahead and do this. I also reviewed the legal description that is contained in this, Mr. Helms, for it would be parcel C, and it's as limited as possible over that area that would be the up and over on 190th, just to contain the area for the access to get into that house. It typically would have been done back when he bought it, but it was missed for some reason, and the property would have never been sold if it wouldn't have had access. The only access point is right there where the driveway goes across, because if you go to the further eastern edge of that property, there's a drainage ditch and a culvert that is owned by the township on the township road, so you wouldn't be able to have an access point on that for that property on that road anywhere near 190th. So, and I don't know if you've had a chance to drive out there recently, but that's also where Bigland Road actually got cut off, and they've got 3 different dike systems going on out there and roads going every which direction. So I do understand how it would have been missed, sir.
I did drive out there today and looked at it. I actually sat there for quite a while and looked it over, but I guess my concern would be, and if there is a concern, maybe, I don't know, with the city going down the road on anything out there, if anything else was to happen out there on in that area for any reason. Is it going to change anything on the city standpoint as far as, you know?
I don't believe on the city standpoint, because we have the other thing that we don't want to do, and it had been suggested, was to sell that portion. However, that's a part of the up and over for our levee system out there, and we really don't want to end up in that same type of situation where we have somebody owning a part of our flood control system. So that's why the Corps indicated that would be okay for us to have an access easement over that up and over, or I guess you would call it an up and over. And there isn't anything else that I understand that we sold out there that would be involved in that area. But, I guess I can't say anything 100% certain, but I don't foresee anything right there in that area for the purchasers of Mr. Holmes's property that they would have anything to come back at us with. At some point, they're going to need an access.
Murphy.
Well, I was going to say, if you look on the map there that's in your packet, you'll see a little bit to the west of his driveway there is the access that goes into where the city has all the excess clay for if the flood for the levee protection system, if that needs to be added to or whatever. And I don't mean to put Mr. Stordahl on the spot, but I know he has had some conversations with the Army Corps of Engineers about that. And so I guess I want to defer to him if he can elaborate a little bit about what they told him about the access and the up and over.
Thank you. Yeah, so I didn't speak with the Corps, but I did do some through correspondence and emails. I went back and forth with them over this area, and they really had no issue. It's pretty far away from our levee system, and as long as we're not selling it, we're maintaining that grade up and over the levee. It's very far from our main levee, so it's not anywhere near the toe of our levee, I don't see that we'd ever have any kind of issue with it using as an access. So I'm very confident. I think that they were too. They had no issue. So
I've also retained the email that was received by Mr. Stordahl indicating that they authorized us to do it, and just provide them with a copy of the access easement once it's completed so that they have it for their records.
Mayor.
Thanks, Mr. President. I do respect our council members wanting to fully understand these issues before they vote on them. As I've looked at the diagrams and read through the documents that we've received and hearing from others, I feel if we delay it, we'll end up in the same place that we are now, and yet we will have frustrated the parties involved. And so I do believe we can take action on this.
And I will apologize for that. I mean, just with the timing on this, when we got the access easement and the legal description and the diagram, I wasn't able to get it on last week's work session. We'd been working on it and waiting on the Corps of Engineer to be able to get back to us, and that's why it was delayed. When the Corps finally got back to us, we got it put together as quickly as possible, but it wasn't in time to have it on the agenda for the work session. Normally, I understand, Mr. Helms, that it would have been there.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? See none, roll call, please.
Demers?
Yes.
Larson?
Yes.
Better?
Yes.
Helms?
No.
Riepel?
Yes.
Johnson?
Yes.
Olsted?
Yes, motion is carried. Number 12, request for direction on 2022 federal subtarget project. Mr. Murphy, you want to lead off with that?
Yep, I can get started with this. There is some updates to the RCA that is in your packet. I've had some continuing discussion with Mr. Haugen, director of the MPO, regarding this. So Mr. Haugen has received word back from Polk County and the state of Minnesota that there is a project that would be eligible for a swap with Polk County. The issue, however, is that there is a $110,000 difference in the sub-target funding. So with that, Mr. Haugen then contacted the state of Minnesota MnDOT and asked them if they would be able to, I'll probably use the correct term, but carry that over from the 2022 year to the 2023 year, rather than having an exact spend down of in each of the years. And I know he was waiting for a response on that. We spoke a little bit ago, and he hadn't received confirmation whether that they would be able to do that. However, Mr. Haugen has stated in his experience that that is something that has been able to be done in the past. And I know he is here today, so he might be able to elaborate on what Mr. Mason did say to him on that. So I guess with that, I would say that it does appear that the swap for the 2022 to 2023 year looks like it might be a good possibility to do that. So if that was the case, if we want to continue to pursue the reconstruction and the extension of the paving on 10th, we would be able to do that. We would still need to do the study and those types of things, but it does appear that the swap would be possible. So that's my report.
Anything to add, Mr. Haugen, at all? Okay. Anybody have any questions, comments?
And I'll say it again for the record that we have several priorities. And I like the idea of moving ahead with 10th. And I think we should keep these other several projects also moving forward. I know it will take some cost on the front end in the engineering and in some of the planning of it, but it's important that we continue to move those forward so that when the funds are available and according to our priorities that we decide, we're ready to move on these several projects. And I've said, I think privately to Mr. Vetter, and I'll say it, I really do believe that a roundabout at Bigland and Reinhardt will perform very well for what we're trying to do there. I have no doubt in my mind. I don't have any reservation about the performance of a roundabout right there. It's going to be a good addition somewhere in the future, particularly if we don't get the South End Bridge built right away. So, you know, as we think about prioritizing something ahead of that, that doesn't mean it's a bad project. It just means it may not be our number one need right at this time. And I would hope that if it is going to ever happen, and probably it will, that it happens in concert with the neighbors, both the residential neighbors and the business that is there, so that they can plan their layout of their property accordingly in a cooperative way. Right.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Murphy.
All right, so I guess if the council is in agreement with continuing to move forward with 10th overall, then I guess I do not require any action from the council at this point. We'll wait till we get confirmation back from MnDOT, and then I will bring it back at a future meeting for authorization to start the to give authorization for the study for the amendment of the transportation plan.
Anybody else have anything to add? Okay, thank you, sir. Move on to number 12, request for, 13. I don't want to rehash that on. Claims, consider authorizing city administrator clerk treasurer issue payment of recommended bills and payroll.
Move.
Moved by Johnson.
Second.
Second by Helms. Any questions or discussion? Roll call, please.
Demers,
Yes.
Larson,
Yes.
Vetter,
Yes.
Helms,
Yes.
Riepel,
Yes.
Johnson,
Yes.
Olsted.
Yes, motion is carried. Mayor Gander.
Two things. First of all, congratulations to our firefighters for putting on such a great event this past weekend. I do want to thank the whole community that came out and attended that. I think it was a great move to have the dog dock in there. They had dogs that could fly through the air over like 22, 23 feet into water. It was pretty hilarious, and the stands were just full of people watching it. And thanks to all the people who fished and all the volunteers that made it happen. Finally, we have that event growing again. I know it struggled just for a little while, but boy, these last several years in the hands of our firefighters, it's taken off. And anything that packs people into our greenway, I love it. It just transforms that whole space into some really neat gathering place. Number 2, Heritage Days is coming up not this coming weekend, but the following weekend, August 14th, 15th. Maybe you can give a little more detail, but I know there's a breakfast at 7:30 in the morning, starting things up on Saturday, and opening ceremony is at about 10 o'clock, I believe, and then on to events. Community church service on Sunday for everybody that wants to join in. So if you're in town or wonder what to do on that weekend, that'd be a good event. And finally, on that same day, there is the Law Enforcement 1078 5K that will be happening on that Saturday, August the 14th, and the event actually starts at 9 o'clock, and you can check online in different places for that. But that too is going to be, I think, an important event. You know, anything we can do to recognize law enforcement. It's a fundraiser for important cause, and so no shortage of upcoming events in our community. Thanks.
I don't have anything this week, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Mayor, you're correct. The Heritage Days is coming fast. A lot of stuff to do out there. I know there's a kids program they're going to put on out there this year that sounds like it should be pretty good. And then the tractor pull out there this year, the antique tractor pull is on Saturday instead of Sunday because we couldn't figure out if we were going to be able to have Heritage Days, so we had to. They had already booked that Sunday, so it'll be on Saturday out there. It's, if I'm not mistaken, it's a free gate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Free
this
gate.
year. So, hopefully we can have a lot of stuff going on out there, and maybe people stop out. And I seen today they did take the grain off today out there, so they left a small patch to bundle up so they can run the thrash machine. So if you're not busy the next couple of days, you can go help bundle grain. They'd love that. So that's all I have. Thank you.
Mr. Riedel.
Nothing.
Mr. Johnson.
I have nothing, thank you.
Mr. Demers.
Thank you, Mr. President. Just wanted to note that I had the opportunity to go to the Coalition board meeting and summer conference this last weekend. It was a really good event. It was good to see the huge turnout from greater Minnesota. People were eager to get back in the room, get back to work, and understand that with shifting demographics and all those type of things, our work as a coalition is going to be even more necessary. Went through a lot of different topics from LGA to parks and recreation to labor issues that will, I hope, benefit our city. We'll bring them up as kind of needed going forward. One good news is that our dues should stay about the same. That's per capita rate is the same. So other than that, like I said, legislators, the governor was there, and everybody seemed like they were positive about moving forward, with the post-COVID recovery for Minnesota and greater Minnesota. Thank you.
Nothing for me tonight. Thank you.
I just want to bring up this. It was shared by the police department also. It's a fundraiser for Sergeant Tony Hart. The benefit's going to be on August 26th, Thursday, at the Eagles Club. So they're going to have a silent auction from 5 to 6:30. Some food there. So I just want to make sure everybody's aware of that. What's going on. So I want to spread that around and help fray some medical expenses that he's still incurring, and hopefully he continues to heal and move on and get better. So that's all I have.
I only have two things tonight. One, I will elaborate a little bit on the Heritage Days, the tractor pull. I will say that was, my father-in-law was up a couple years ago when they had that, and we went to that, and I don't know much about tractors, but there was some apparently really rare Canadian tractor that was there, part of it, and he was tickled pink and talked to that guy for quite a while in between the heats, and he talked about that for a long time after that. So yeah, something like tractor pull can really make somebody's day. So the other thing is that I have a vacation scheduled for later this week. I will be gone Thursday and Friday.
Mr. Galston.
Nothing. I just want to thank you, and I promise I'll try to make sure anything's on the work session to be able to go through stuff ahead of time. It was just out of my control on this one, Mr. Helms. That's it. Thank you.
I have nothing unless anyone has any questions.
Any from the department heads? Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Oh.
Moved by Helms. Second by Johnson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is carried. Meeting is adjourned.
So have you ever been to Arrowwood? You've been to Arrowwood. From
like
the
it.
rooms, couldn't see the lake.
Yeah, I bet.
It was terrible.